there comes a point where, when it's so widely agreed that climate change is such a
It's not widely agreed. My scientific background, madam. Okay, people, so today I am out on the London Underground with these two lovely individuals. We're going to be handing out information about how man-made climate change is a lie and net zero is a scam. This is a really concerning narrative because it underpins such authoritarian measures, mass surveillance and control. So
I think it's most likely going to be very hostile because I'd say definitely my experience in school is that you're very much told man-made climate change is a thing. It's just not. And I think from such a young age, you're told that you're a good person if you think it's a thing and you're trying to do things to stop it. So it's very emotionally ingrained in a lot of people. So kind of any logical thinking's already gone out the window years ago.
When I was at school, we were put through exactly the same thing. I fell for the green agenda, hook, line and sinker. I was I nearly went to an Extinction Rebellion rally.
I'm just and stuff like that.
I'm grateful that I didn't go because in the years since, the narrative has been turned around in my eyes. Like I see that when you're actually given real evidence and not hearsay in school or on advertisements or on the TV, you talk to real professionals, meteorologists, statisticians, people who know their stuff. You will get the real story from this, and that's what we're here to speak about today.
Amazing.
Like some people are going to agree, some aren't.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's go, let's find out, let's see what people are going to say. Good evening, everyone. I'm really sorry to interrupt your journey. Today, I'm just here spreading some information about the dangers around the man-made climate change narrative. We've got ULEZ in London, we've got congestion charge, we've got low traffic neighbourhoods. All of this is underpinned by the idea that we're destroying the environment as human beings. We're having our cars taken off us. We're being forced to have electric cars which use cobalt, which is mined in third world countries using almost slave labour. So all I'm doing is handing out some information, countering the mainstream narrative. Nobody trusts the government here. Nobody really trusts the mainstream media. So all I'm doing is offering an alternative opinion. So I'm just going to hand out some information. You don't have to take a leaflet, but I'd be grateful if you would. Thank you. Dzień dobry.
Dzień dobry.
Yeah,
I
that's
totally
me.
agree with you.
You agree with me?
Yeah, I think that climate change and the whole discussion about it was made up to make us slaves and us actually scared, of everything.
Absolutely right.
And that's how that's how I see the 21st century.
Yep.
The people above us, they want to make slaves of us.
Absolutely agree.
And they want to make us scared of literally everything. Literally everything you see on the TV, on Twitter, on Instagram, everything.
But actually, carbon is the gas of life. Without carbon, there is...
What's your scientific background?
My scientific background, madam? Well, I'm very well read in science. I'm not a scientist.
You're not a scientist?
Are you a scientist?
I am a statistician.
Okay, great, yeah. So how much carbon dioxide does the UK produce? What percentage?
Do you think that a question like that is going to challenge my credibility, sir?
No, I'm just asking a question.
I don't know.
1%.
Okay.
So in your opinion, do you think...
Does that make man-made climate change a lie then?
No, but it makes that specific. I mean, I still believe it's a lie, but that specific counterpoint in that instance, no. But assuming, let's say it is real. Let's say man-made climate change is real. Do you think that, considering we only contribute 1% to global emissions, that tackling the economy to the extent we're doing, forcing people to drive electric cars, forcing people to pay for ULEZ, forcing people to live in low-traffic neighbourhoods, 15-minute cities, do you think that's justified?
About why you think that people are being forced into 15-minute cities. Why do you believe that we're being forced into them?
I can absolutely tell you that. So for example, the World Economic Forum, United Nations, who are directly influencing our government.
They've claimed it as like a good urban planning policy. That people should live near things.
Okay, so the correlation between so this is a correlation, not a causation for you. So you can pick me up on that. So the correlation between the influence of World Economic Forum ideas, United Nations ideas, and EU, in fact, is so strong that me as a citizen should be very concerned about the fact that the idea of a 15-minute neighbourhood would be something the government would follow through on. Considering when it came to things like lockdown, when it came to things like vaccines, which were experimental, they just followed the science and followed those people influencing them. So whilst I can't say to you right now our government will do that, there's enough evidence, historical evidence, to show that our government's very willing to just follow that narrative, listen to the experts without going through a democratic process. So I think there is cause for concern, and I'm glad we're having this conversation.
No scientific background.
Why do you need a scientific background?
Well, you just said that people are. You literally just said that people are listening to the experts while you yourself have no expertise.
So these are I'll tell you what.
People with very strong scientific backgrounds don't agree.
The experts, sir, the experts told you to take an experimental vaccine which is harmed and giving you mRNA technology and redefined vaccine.
You know
That's what the experts did.
You know how the pandemic then ended?
Wasn't a pandemic, but yeah. No, go on. Well, why was it a pandemic? How many excess people died? You know the hockey stick graph with the carbon dioxide spike? That's actually in court, and it's the idea that those statistics aren't necessarily reliable because a lot of them go back to kind of pre-industrial revolution time, so you can't necessarily use that. However, there's still a debate to be had. I'm not going to, this is my perspective based on my reading, but if we want to have a conversation as to why I could be wrong, that's great. My concern is really focused around a lack of debate around this narrative. It's to say that suddenly we've just all accepted that man-made climate change is real without looking at the fact there could be solar flare activity, we could be coming out of an ice age, like a very long ice age obviously. So my perspective is a lot of it is around debates. I believe that we're coming out of an ice age, I believe there's a lot of solar flare activity, but why does the mainstream media censor this narrative and not want to have this conversation? But there you go, that's a bit of a sales pitch if you like. Yeah? What would your perspective on that be?
No strong view, just interested.
Amazing, well thanks so much, appreciate that. Have a good day.
With an earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane, and Lenny Bruce is not afraid. I have a hurricane, listen to yourself, churn world serves its own needs, dummy serve your own needs, feed it up an ox beat, grunt, no strength, the ladder starts to clatter with fear, bite down, high wire and a fire, representatives engaged in a government for hire and a combat site. Left to us are coming in a hurry with the furies breathing down your neck. Team by team reporters baffle Trump, tethered crop, look at that, no plane. Common food, but it'll do. Save yourself, serve yourself. World serves its own needs. Listen to your heartbeat. Dummy with the rapture and the reverend and the right. You patriotic, slam, fight, bright light, feeling pretty sight. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world.
Today I was just talking to people about the idea that man-made climate change might not be real. So it could be just caused by kind of a natural evolution. So we're coming out of like an ice age, and
go back into one afterwards.
And we have things like solar flare activity that also impacts temperature records. And I just want to basically engage with people, get their perspectives, give my perspectives, because I feel like this side of the argument isn't necessarily discussed in the mainstream media that much.
Yeah, it's definitely not discussed like a lot of other sides.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
What do you think?
I think it's very possible that it's not man-made. I think it's just cycles.
Yeah?
Just cycles keep recurring until we get through this hot cycle.
No. Man-made climate.
Factories burning coal releases fossil fuels, goes up into the atmosphere. It means that heat is less able to escape the atmosphere, which means the more heat gets trapped in the earth gets hotter. The hockey stick graph, which highlights how much carbon dioxide, the scary graph, everyone knows, we got a massive spike in carbon dioxide, and that's been taken to court, that's fallen through, that's been debunked. So we can pull that to one side, so we can be like, okay, so that graph that all of this climate change hysteria has come from has actually been completely debunked and is no longer credible. The point of net zero is that you can still release some, but because it's net zero means you're taking other out. Some people will push further for absolute zero, but fine, that's fine. But even still, how does that brings me on to part two. How does net zero affect our economy and the public? You, Les, paying £12.50 a day to drive your car? Really? Working people?
Just take a bus.
Yeah, but why? What if I don't want to? What if I want freedom?
Okay, let the elderly die is also not a political theme I'm found.
No, the elderly could have stayed at home and done what they need to do. Why did young kids need to have masks on them and be jabbed? No, but look, my point, I don't want to bring up COVID because that's not what we're talking about. I just bring up COVID as a point because this gentleman here said, I'm not an expert. And I think COVID hosts an amazing point, which is to say, they told us to trust the science, trust the experts. They all got it wrong. So why, as the member of the public, should I be spoken down to with someone who's somewhat got better qualifications than me? No, I'm not going to do it. And what about the experts who said, don't lock down? What about the ones that said, don't jab kids? Don't wear masks? What about them? Do we listen to them?
Okay, I really just want to underline that a lot of people got vaccinated and then the pandemic went away, and I think those are probably the experts who I trust.
That's just
like
not
the ones
true.
Who finished the pandemic.
The ones that fit you. Have you heard about the World Economic Forum and United Nations? Have you ever heard of them?
Yeah.
How do you feel about them as organisations?
It's all of bullshit, you know. And then I go to uni and I study about WHO, for example. You know?
Yeah, what do you think of the World Health Organization?
Yeah, it's a bullshit organization, you know, that criticized Polish doctors for agreeing, for not agreeing and letting people walk around.
Guys, that's not really lovely.
Yeah, but you know, we're in a public space, you know, I can do whatever. Yeah,
Carry on, mate. Sorry, just carry on. That was very
You
interesting.
know, it's all of it is bullshit. You know, they criticize everything that is not mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you for. I really appreciate you coming up and saying that. What about the states? The states taking such a drastic role in the public's life. Why? Since when was the state so engaged in the individual and the private life and the private sphere? We seem to have this shift in the relationship between government and person, where they have the authority to implement these measures without public consultation and discussion, i.e. congestion charge, i.e. ULEZ, i.e. low traffic neighbourhoods where you can't drive your cars properly.
There comes a point where, when it's so widely agreed that climate change is such a
It's not
massive...
widely agreed.
Go along this carriage,
and they will all agree. Yeah,
they'll all agree with it.
Yeah. The general
most scientists.
This is what I'm saying. It's widely agreed.
Okay, fine. Go on.
Widely agreed
with logic. Now, when something is so obviously in the public's benefit, like mitigating the effects of climate change, reducing greenhouse gas emissions,
we should have a vote.
So wild. If you had a vote, you know which way it would go.
Have you heard
that climate change is a bad thing?
Yeah, and does the mainstream media promote the idea that man-made climate change might not be real?
No.
No, why?
Because it's not true.
No, that's ridiculous. So we should never debate anything.
Do you think that human activity, cannot affect the climate?
Well, in terms of carbon emissions affecting the warming of the Earth, no. In terms of plastic pollution, yes.
So you don't believe that carbon emissions heat up the general temperature of the Earth? That's like a proven scientific fact.
No. Science is always up for discussion. We're just having this conversation. Science can always be contested, discussed. Science, and there are lots of scientists who actually debunk this, but are silenced and not
They're not taken seriously.
put on in direct line of the general public, like on the BBC or Channel 4 or ITV. But why is that?
The simple fact is that when there's more carbon in the atmosphere, it holds more heat to planet Earth. Less can escape, less radiation.
But have you looked at the idea that we're coming out of an age-old ice age, and we're naturally warming? Or we have solar flare activity, which could be impacting.
But the point is, even
or
though some of the warming can be natural, it can still be affected by human activity.
But, okay, so why aren't we having a discussion? The idea of a social credit system can come forward. The idea that we have so little money, we're in such dire need of help from our government and the state, that we have a social credit system with mass surveillance, we're more surveilled in this country, we have carbon credits where our carbon footprint is tracked, we have low traffic neighbourhoods where you can't drive, in 15-minute cities where we have surveillance and cameras, and all of this revolves around the man-made climate change narrative that we need to, it all stems from that, but it's being used as a way, even if we agree or disagree that it's the case, do you think it's being used as a way to implement control, mass surveillance?
Okay, do you guys think that if you were right, the government would be on purpose ruining its own economy for a fake climate crisis?
Absolutely, yes.
Do you think they'd actively seek to destroy
Do you
their
trust
own
the
country?
government?
No, but that's not not entirely, a little bit. Sorry.
Yes, I absolutely do believe that. And I know that they did it with lockdowns. I know they did it with COVID. That was like self-harm. That was self-harm.
I think
bringing a social credit system, bringing the Great Reset, bringing Agenda 2030 goals, destroy us and build us back better. The Great Reset is about destroying and decimating what we have and bringing it back in a fourth digital industrial revolution with control, surveillance, 15-minute cities, net zero policies.
Governments are fighting to be elected in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
The big issue with politics currently is that since it's all based around re-election, there aren't long-term plans like that because it fucking changes every...
No, because notice the Conservative government and the Labour government are the same. No, they're no different.
They're no different.
No different.
I mean,
Well, our previous government was a socialist government. Anyway, we're going to go on and on.
yeah,
and
no,
on.
no, we're gonna go as well. But
Yeah, take
nice
care.
to talk
Cheers.
to you.
Have a good day. Thank you, mate. Where the hell are we? Okay, that was one of the most intense tube outreaches I've ever done. I mean, that was relentless conversation, and it challenged me. I get asked questions which I'm not necessarily completely prepared for, but yeah, no, it wasn't the easiest. However, we smashed it, I think, and look, we engaged in debate, and I think that's the most important thing. What did you think?
It was my first tube outreach. I thought it was pretty fun.
It's right to be challenged. Like, you need to have conversations on these subjects. And as for young people, we need to do a lot of unbrainwashing from our school years.
Yeah, I totally agree. And my closing words would be, guys, if you support this kind of grassroots work, it's not easy, it's very stressful, it takes resources. Head over to my website, montgomerytoms.com/support, and you can donate to me either just of a one-off donation or for a monthly donation. Thank you very much. We're the people, we hold the power. I'm going to keep it up. You're going to keep it up?
Yeah.
Coming back?
Yeah, I'm definitely
I'm
coming
doing
back.
a new tube out.
Next time you do a tube outreach.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in a minute. Is that good? Like that?